The girl's wheelchair was rolling toward the storm drain and nobody was moving. I dropped my tray. Coffee and plates crashed everywhere. My boss was screaming my name, but I was already running, sprinting across the wet street in my stained uniform and worn-out sneakers, my heart hammering so hard it hurt. The wheelchair picked up speed. The girl's hands were frozen on the armrests. Her eyes were wide with terror, but her body wouldn't move. Couldn't move. I grabbed the handles 3 feet from the edge. My shoes skidded on the slick pavement. The wheelchair spun sideways. For one horrible second I thought we were both going over, but my feet caught. The metal drain grate was right there, close enough to see the black water rushing below, close enough to hear it roaring. The girl was shaking. Not crying, just shaking like a leaf in a hurricane. "You're okay," I whispered, even though my own voice was trembling. "You're safe now." She looked up at me with these huge brown eyes full of something I couldn't name. Not just fear, something deeper, something that made my chest tight. "Hey friends, thank you so much for stopping by. Don't forget to comment where you are watching from. Someone close to you might be watching too. Like, share, subscribe, and tap the notification bell so you never miss a story. Make sure to watch till the very end, because the final twist is something you definitely don't want to miss. So let's continue. Behind us, tires screeched. A door slammed. Footsteps pounded. "Lily!" The man who appeared was tall, wearing a suit that probably cost more than my entire year's rent. His face was twisted with panic and something else, something raw and desperate that made him look almost ordinary despite the expensive watch and the perfect haircut. He fell to his knees beside the wheelchair, his hands shaking as they touched his daughter's face. "Lily, baby, are you hurt? Are you okay?" The girl, Lily, nodded slowly. Still hadn't said a word. Then the man looked at me, really looked at me. His eyes traveled over my cheap uniform with Rita stitched on the pocket, my soaked-through clothes, my hand still gripping his daughter's wheelchair so tight my knuckles were white. "You saved her." His voice cracked. "The driver, he got out to move a box from the street. He only turned his back for a second, and the brake, God, the brake must have slipped and—" "It's okay," I said softly. "She's safe." But he wasn't okay. This powerful man in his expensive suit was falling apart right there on the wet pavement. Tears were streaming down his face. His hands were still shaking. "I can't lose her," he whispered. "I can't. She's all I have left." Something in those words hit me hard. I knew that feeling, that desperate, clawing fear of losing the only thing that matters. I'd felt it 2 years ago when the doctors told me my mom had 6 months to live, when I'd held her hand and promised her I'd be okay, even though we both knew I wouldn't be. "What's your name?" the man asked suddenly. Rita Johnson." "Rita." He stood up slowly, like his legs barely worked. "I'm David Cole, and I—" He stopped, swallowed hard. "I owe you my daughter's life." I recognized the name then. David Cole, the tech billionaire who'd built half the apps on everyone's phone. The guy who was on the news 3 weeks ago because his wife had died in a car accident. The accident that had left his daughter paralyzed. My stomach dropped. This little girl had already lost so much. "You don't owe me anything," I said quietly. "Anyone would have—" "No." His voice was firm now. "No, they wouldn't have. I saw. There were 12 people on that sidewalk and every single one of them froze. You ran." He pulled out his wallet. "Please, let me— I don't want your money." The words came out sharper than I meant them to. I saw him flinch, but I couldn't help it. I'd spent 3 years being invisible in this city, working double shifts at the diner, sleeping in a room so small I could touch both walls at once, watching rich people leave change on tables like they were doing me some huge favor. I didn't save his daughter for money. "I'm sorry," David said quietly. "I didn't mean to offend you. I need to do something. To thank you somehow." Behind us, my boss Jerry was standing in the diner doorway. His face was purple with rage. I could see him mouthing words. "You're fired." Even from across the street, I knew exactly what he was saying. 3 years at that diner, gone in 30 seconds. You could give me a ride home, I heard myself say. I think I just lost my job. David's driver pulled up in a black car that was so clean it looked like it had never touched a real street. He helped Lily into the back seat, folding her wheelchair with practiced ease. I climbed in beside her, suddenly very aware of how my wet uniform was dripping on the leather seats. Lily was still staring at me, not like I was a hero, more like she was trying to figure something out. You ran fast, she said suddenly. Her voice was small but clear. Like you were flying. It was the first thing she'd said. I smiled, despite everything. I used to run track in high school before I stopped myself, before everything fell apart, before Mum got sick, before the bills piled up and college became a dream I couldn't afford. Before what? Lily asked. Before life got complicated. She nodded like she understood, and maybe she did. This girl knew about life getting complicated. Where do you live? David asked from the front seat. I gave him the address, watched his face in the rearview mirror, tried not to see the flicker of concern when he realized what neighborhood I meant, the kind of place where cars didn't have this much leather, where people knew better than to leave anything valuable in sight. That's 40 minutes from here, he said carefully. You work that far from home? Worked, I corrected. Past tense. And yeah, good jobs aren't exactly growing on trees where I'm from. The silence in the car got heavy, uncomfortable. I focused on the window, watching the city change as we drove. The buildings got shorter, the streets got dirtier, the people got more tired-looking. I'm sorry, Lily said quietly. I turned to look at her. For what, sweetie? That you lost your job because of me. My heart cracked a little. This girl was maybe 11 years old. She'd lost her mother, lost the use of her legs, and she was apologizing to me. Hey. I reached over and took her hand. It was small and cold. You didn't make that happen. That was all me. And you know what? I'd do it again in a heartbeat. Really? Really? Some things are more important than jobs. Lily squeezed my hand, didn't let go for the rest of the ride. When we pulled up to my building, David's face went tight. I could see him taking in the broken window on the second floor, the graffiti on the wall, the group of guys hanging out on the corner, watching the fancy car like sharks watching a wounded fish. You live here? He asked quietly. Not all of us can afford the penthouse suites, I said, trying to keep my voice light, trying not to sound as defensive as I felt. I didn't mean... He turned in his seat. Rita, I'm going to make this right. Let me help you find another job. I know people. I can make calls. I don't need charity. It's not charity. You saved my daughter's life. Let me help you. I looked at Lily. She was still holding my hand, still looking at me with those big brown eyes that had seen too much. Okay, I said quietly. But nothing fancy. I'm not looking to be someone's token good deed. David nodded. Come by my office tomorrow, 10th floor of the Cole Tower downtown. Ask for me directly. I got out of the car, started walking toward my building. Then I heard the car door open behind me. Rita! I turned. Lily was leaning out the window as far as she could. Thank you, she called out, for saving me. I waved, watched the car pull away, tried to ignore the weird feeling in my chest, like something had shifted, like my whole life had just changed direction and I didn't even know it yet. That night I couldn't sleep, kept seeing Lily's wheelchair rolling toward that drain, kept feeling that moment of pure terror when I thought I wouldn't reach her in time. My neighbor's music thumped through the thin walls. Sirens wailed somewhere close, the usual city symphony that I'd learned to tune out, but tonight it all felt different, louder, more real. I looked at the card David had pressed into my hand before I left. Heavy paper, embossed letters. David Cole, CEO, Cole Technologies. On the back, he'd written his personal number. I thought about throwing it away. Pride was a funny thing. It kept you warm when you had nothing else, but it also kept you stuck. My mom used to say pride was just fear wearing a fancy hat. Fear of owing someone, fear of not being enough on your own. But maybe, just maybe, this wasn't about pride at all. Maybe it was about a little girl who'd looked at me like I was someone who mattered. The next morning I put on my only nice outfit, a black dress I'd bought for my mom's funeral and hadn't worn since. My hands shook as I buttoned it up. The coal tower was in the part of the city where buildings touched the sky and everyone walked fast like they had somewhere important to be. I didn't belong there. Every step through that marble lobby screamed it. "Can I help you?" The receptionist looked me up and down. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. "I'm here to see David Cole." "Do you have an appointment?" "He told me to come. My name is Rita Johnson." She tapped something on her computer, raised one perfect eyebrow, then her whole face changed. Oh. Yes, Mr. Cole left specific instructions. Please take the elevator to the 10th floor. Someone will meet you there." The elevator was made of glass. I watched the ground floor get smaller and smaller, watched the city spread out below me like a map. For a second I understood why people wanted this view, this power, this feeling of being above it all. But then I thought about Lily, trapped in a wheelchair, looking out at a world she couldn't run through anymore. And I remembered that height didn't matter if you couldn't move. David was waiting when the elevator opened. He looked different, less panicked, more put together. But his smile when he saw me was real. "Rita, thank you for coming." I almost didn't. "But you did." He gestured down the hallway. "Walk with me?" We passed offices full of people staring at screens, conference rooms with glass walls where serious-looking people pointed at charts. Everything was white and clean and expensive. Everything felt temporary, like it could all disappear tomorrow and no one would remember it was ever there. "How's Lily?" I asked. David's face softened. "She talked about you all night. She never talks much anymore, not since—" He stopped walking, looked at me directly. "Not since the accident. But yesterday, she couldn't stop talking about the lady who ran through the rain to save her. She's a special kid. She is." His voice got quiet. "And she's been through hell. They told us after the crash that she might never walk again, that her mother was gone, that our whole life was—" He breathed out hard. "I'm sorry. You didn't come here to listen to my problems." "Maybe I did." He looked surprised. "Why?" "Because yesterday I saw a dad who loved his daughter more than anything, who fell apart when he thought he'd lost her. And I haven't seen real love like that in a long time." I paused. "My mum died 2 years ago. Cancer. And every day before she died I watched my dad run from it. He couldn't handle it. He left. Just disappeared one day and never came back." "I'm sorry. Don't be. I'm just saying what you have with Lily. That's worth more than all of this." I gestured at the fancy office around us. "So yeah, I came here because I wanted to see if that guy from yesterday was real, or if he was just some rich man having a bad day." David was quiet for a long moment. "You're not like anyone I've ever met." "I'm going to take that as a compliment." He smiled. "A real one. It was meant as one. Come on. There's someone I want you to meet." We walked to the end of the hall, through a door that opened into an apartment. No, not an apartment. A home built inside the office building. There were toys scattered on the floor, books on the shelves, photos on the walls. And in the middle of it all, in her wheelchair by the window, was Lily. She looked up when we came in, her whole face lit up. "Rita!" I crossed the room, knelt down beside her chair. "Hey, sweetie, how are you feeling?" "Better now that you're here." She grabbed my hand again, like she had in the car, like she was afraid I'd disappear if she let go. "Daddy said you might come, but I didn't believe him. I thought you were like a dream, like maybe I made you up. I'm real, very real, and a little underdressed for this fancy place, but real." Lily giggled. It was the best sound I'd heard in forever. David cleared his throat. "I asked you here because I have a proposition, and before you say no, I need you to hear me out." I stood up slowly. "I'm listening." "Lily needs a caregiver, someone to help her during the day while I'm working, Someone to take her to physical therapy, help with her schoolwork, just be there. I've had 3 nurses quit in the last 2 months because Lily... He glanced at his daughter. She was looking down at her hands. Because she doesn't let people in. She doesn't trust anyone, except, apparently, you. Daddy. Lily's voice was small. You're embarrassing me. I'm being honest. He looked at me. Yesterday you ran into traffic for a child you didn't know. You asked for nothing in return. And my daughter, who hasn't smiled in 6 months, smiled at you. So yes, I want to hire you. Not because I feel guilty, not because it's charity, but because I think you're exactly who Lily needs. My mind was spinning. I don't have any training. I'm not a nurse. I'm not... You're someone who cares. That's all the training you need. I looked at Lily. She was staring at me with so much hope it hurt. What do you think? I asked her. Would you want me here? Every day, she whispered. Every single day. And just like that, my life changed again. The job paid more in a week than I'd made in 2 months at the diner. David set me up in a small apartment 3 blocks from the tower. Nothing fancy, but clean and safe and mine. For the first time in 3 years, I didn't have to choose between food and rent. But it wasn't the money that mattered. It was Lily. Every morning, I'd arrive at 7. She'd be waiting by the window, watching for me. Every day, she smiled a little more, laughed a little louder, opened up a little wider. We'd do her exercises together. I'd make them into games. She'd groan and complain, but she'd do them. And slowly, so slowly I almost didn't notice at first, she was getting stronger. Tell me about your mom, Lily said one afternoon. We were in the park. It had taken 3 weeks to convince her to leave the building, but she'd finally agreed. I pushed her wheelchair along the path. She was the strongest person I ever knew. When she got sick, she didn't complain. Not once. She just kept going, kept smiling, kept telling me everything would be okay. Was she right? I don't know yet. Ask me in a few years. Lily was quiet. Then, my mom wasn't strong like that. She was scared all the time, scared of heights, scared of flying, scared of getting hurt. Her voice dropped. But she got in the car anyway, to take me to dance class, even though it was raining and she hated driving in the rain. Oh God. Lily, it was my fault. If I hadn't begged her to take me, if I'd just stayed home, I stopped the wheelchair, knelt down in front of her. Listen to me. Really listen. What happened was not your fault. You were a kid who wanted to go to dance class. That's normal. That's okay. Your mum made a choice because she loved you. And what happened after? That was an accident. A terrible, horrible accident. But it wasn't your fault. Tears were streaming down her face. But I can't even dance anymore. She died, so I could dance, and now I can't. And what was the point? I pulled her into my arms, held her while she sobbed. The point, I whispered, is that you're alive. You're here. You're breathing and thinking and feeling. And your mum would want you to keep doing all of those things? We stayed like that for a long time. People walked past. Probably thought we looked strange. This black woman in her 20s holding a crying girl in a wheelchair like the world was ending. But I didn't care, let them stare. When Lily finally pulled back, her eyes were red but clearer. Rita? Yeah? I'm glad you saved me, even when it hurts to be alive. I'm still glad. I wiped her tears away. Me too, sweetie. Me too. That night, David came home early. He found us in the living room. I was reading to Lily from her favorite book. She was half asleep in her chair, her hand wrapped around mine. He stood in the doorway for a minute, just watching. When I looked up, there was something in his eyes I couldn't read. She talked about her mom today, I said quietly, for the first time since I started. David's face went pale. What did she say? That she blamed herself. That she thought the accident was her fault. God. He sat down hard on the couch, ran his hands through his hair. I should have known. I should have talked to her about it. But every time I tried, she'd just shut down. She's opening up now. It's going to be okay. How do you do it? He looked at me, really looked at me. How do you know exactly what to say? How do you make her feel safe when I, her own father, can't? Maybe because I'm not her father. Maybe because I'm just someone who showed up when she needed me. No history, no expectations, just present. Or maybe, David said softly, you're just extraordinary. The air in the room changed, got heavier. I felt my heart skip. I should go, I said, standing up quickly. It's late and... Rita. He stood too, took a step closer. I need to tell you something. Every alarm in my head went off. Don't. Don't what? Don't say whatever you're about to say. I work for you. Lily needs me. This, I gestured between us. This can't happen. I know. But he didn't move away. But that doesn't change the fact that when you walk into a room everything gets brighter, that I look forward to coming home for the first time in months, that my daughter loves you, and maybe... He stopped himself. I'm sorry. You're right. I shouldn't have said anything. I walked to the door. My hands were shaking. I'll see you tomorrow. Rita. Tomorrow, David. I left before he could say anything else, before I could do something stupid like admit that I felt it too, that every time he smiled at me my stomach flipped, that I'd started counting the hours until I'd see him again. But this wasn't some fairy tale. I was the help, he was the billionaire, and his daughter needed me to be steady, to be constant, to be safe. I couldn't risk that, not for anything, not even for the way his voice made my heart race. 3 months passed. Lily got stronger, started physical therapy 3 times a week. Her doctors were amazed at her progress. Whatever you're doing, they told David, keep doing it. What we were doing was living, really living. I'd take Lily to museums, to the movies, to the park to watch the dogs play. She'd laugh and point, and slowly, so slowly, the darkness in her eyes started to fade. David would join us sometimes on weekends, on evenings when he could leave work early. And we'd become something, not a family, but not just employer and employee either. Something in between. Something undefined and precious and fragile. Can I tell you a secret? Lily asked one day. We were in her room. She was showing me her mom's jewelry box. I'm scared. Of what? That this will end, that you'll leave, that something bad will happen again. I sat down on her bed. Lily, I can't promise that nothing bad will ever happen. Life doesn't work like that, but I can promise that I'm not going anywhere, not by choice. Not ever. You mean that? With my whole heart. She climbed into my lap, awkward with her legs that didn't work right, but determined. I love you, Rita. The words hit me like a truck. I wrapped my arms around her. I love you too, baby girl. Behind us, the door was cracked open. I saw David standing there, listening. When our eyes met, I saw tears on his face. He mouthed 2 words. Thank you. But that night, everything changed. I was about to leave when David called me into his office. His face was serious, worried. We need to talk. I sat down. My heart was pounding. Is something wrong? Is it Lily? No. Yes. I don't know. He pulled out a folder, slid it across the desk. I did something I probably shouldn't have. I had my people look into your background. Standard procedure for anyone who works closely with my daughter. Ice flooded my veins. And I found something. He opened the folder. Inside was a photo, old and faded, a newspaper clipping from 15 years ago. Is this you? I looked at the picture, felt the world tilt sideways. It was me, 5 years old, standing next to a woman who wasn't my mother, a woman I barely remembered. Where did you get this? It was in the archives of the Portland Morning News, a story about a car accident. The woman in this picture, Sarah Cole, was my sister. She died in that accident. And the little girl she was babysitting, the one who survived, was you. I couldn't breathe. That's not possible. The report says Sarah was watching you while your mother worked a double shift. She took you to the park. On the way home, a drunk driver ran a red light. Sarah died on impact. You survived with just a broken arm. Memories flooded back, fragments I'd buried so deep I'd almost forgotten they were real. A kind woman with brown eyes, a park with swings, the sound of metal crunching, pain, darkness, waking up in a hospital bed without understanding why. I can't. Rita, David's voice was gentle. My sister saved your life. She covered your body with hers during the impact. She died so you could live. I stood up. The room was spinning. Why are you telling me this? Because I need you to understand, when you ran into that street to save Lily, when you risked everything for a child you didn't know, you weren't just saving my daughter. You were honoring my sister's memory. You became what she was, someone who puts others first, someone who runs toward danger instead of away. I need to go. I was backing toward the door. I can't be here right now. Rita, please. No. I was crying. When had I started crying? This changes everything, don't you see? I'm not some stranger who happened to save your daughter. I'm connected to your family's tragedy. I'm the reason your sister died. You were 5 years old. It doesn't matter. It matters to me. He stood up, came around the desk. Rita, look at me. Please. I couldn't. I was falling apart. All this time, I thought this job was about paying off a debt, about helping a little girl who needed me. But it was bigger than that, older than that. My life had been tangled up with the coals since before I could remember. I need to think, I whispered. I need time. Take all the time you need. But Rita, he caught my hand. Don't run, please. Lily needs you. I need you. I pulled away. I'll see you tomorrow. But I wasn't sure I believed it. That night I sat in my apartment, the apartment David had paid for, and tried to make sense of everything. I called the only person I had left. My Aunt Marie, the one who'd taken care of me after my mom died. Aunt Marie, it's Rita. Baby girl, it's late. You okay? Do you remember when I was little? Before Mom and I moved to the city, there was an accident. Silence. Then, oh, honey, yes, I remember. Why didn't anyone ever talk about it? Your mama wanted to protect you. She thought if you didn't remember, it would hurt less. The woman who died, she was so young. It broke your mama's heart. She felt guilty for years, felt like she should have been there instead of working. The woman's name was Sarah Cole. That's right, how did you... Aunt Marie. My voice cracked. I've been working for her family. I've been taking care of her niece. I saved her brother's daughter and I didn't know it was connected. Lord have mercy. Aunt Marie was quiet for a long moment. Baby. That ain't coincidence. That's God. That's the universe putting things right. Or it's cruel. I'm living a lie. They gave me this job and this apartment and this life because I saved Lily. But if they knew, if they really understood what? That you're human, that you got a past. Rita Johnson, you listen to me. You earned everything you got. You hear me? You work hard. You love that little girl. You showed up when she needed you most. That ain't about the past. That's about who you are right now. But what if I can't do it anymore? What if every time I look at David, I see his sister dying to save me? Then you remember that she made a choice, just like you made a choice to run into that street. And you honor that choice by living, by being there, by not running away when things get hard. I cried on the phone with my aunt until there were no tears left. Then I hung up, looked around my apartment, thought about Lily waiting for me tomorrow, about David's face when he'd said, I need you. This was bigger than me, bigger than my fear. I had to go back. The next morning, I showed up at 7. Lily was waiting by the window. When she saw me, she burst into tears. I thought you weren't coming. Daddy said you might not come back, and I thought, shh, I'm here. I'm here. I held her while she cried. I'm sorry I scared you, but I promise, I'm not going anywhere. David appeared in the doorway. He looked like he hadn't slept. When our eyes met, I saw everything in his face. Relief, hope, something deeper that made my breath catch. Later, when Lily was doing her exercises, he pulled me aside. You came back. I almost didn't. But you did. Yeah. I looked at him. Really looked at him. David, I need you to understand something. I'm not here to replace your sister. I can't pay back what she did for me. That debt is too big. I don't want you to pay it back. Then what do you want? He stepped closer, so close I could feel the heat of him. I want you to stay, not because of what Sarah did, not because you saved Lily, but because in the last 4 months you've become essential to us, to me. His voice dropped. Rita, I know I shouldn't feel this way. I know it's complicated and messy and probably wrong, but I'm falling in love with you. My heart stopped. David, you don't have to say anything. I just needed you to know, and whatever you decide, whether you stay or go, I'll respect it. But please, please don't leave because you think you don't deserve to be here. You deserve everything. I thought about Sarah Cole, about how she'd covered my body with hers, about how she'd given me a second chance at life without even knowing who I'd become. And I thought about Lily, about how she smiled now, about how she'd whispered, I love you, and meant it. I thought about standing at that storm drain, about choosing to run, about becoming someone who saves people instead of someone who needs saving. I'm not leaving, I said quietly. But David, if we're going to do this, if we're going to be something real, we have to do it right. For Lily, she comes first. Always. And I need time to process all of this, to understand what it means. Take all the time you need. He smiled. I'm not going anywhere either. 6 months later, Lily took her first steps. It happened on a Tuesday. We were in the physical therapy room. She'd been working so hard, pushing herself every day, and suddenly she stood up, took 1 step, then another, then 3 more before she collapsed into my arms. I did it. She was laughing and crying at the same time. Rita, I did it. You did, baby girl, you did. David rushed in. Someone had called him. When he saw Lily standing, actually standing, he fell to his knees and sobbed. That night, we all went out to dinner, a real family dinner. At the table, David reached over and took my hand. Lily saw it. She smiled. Are you two going to get married? She asked. No filter, just pure 11-year-old bluntness. David choked on his water. I felt my face get hot. Lily, David said carefully, that's a very personal question. But are you? I looked at David. He looked at me, and something passed between us, something that felt like promise. Maybe someday, I said softly, if your dad ever asks. Then I have a question too, Lily said. She looked serious. If you guys get married, can I call you Mom? Time stopped. The restaurant disappeared. It was just me and this incredible, brave, beautiful girl who'd stolen my heart. Yes, I whispered. Yes, you can call me Mom. Lily got up, actually got up and walked around the table and hugged me so hard I couldn't breathe. I love you, Mom, she whispered. And I realized something. This whole time I'd thought I was saving them, but really, they'd saved me. 1 year later, David and I stood in a small church. Lily was the flower girl. She walked down the aisle without her wheelchair, slowly, carefully. But she walked. When the pastor asked if anyone objected, Lily shouted, "You better not," and everyone laughed. At the reception, David's mom, a woman I'd been terrified to meet, pulled me aside. "I need to tell you something," she said. Her eyes were wet. Sarah was my youngest. When she died, I thought I'd never smile again. I thought that drunk driver had stolen all the light from our family. Mrs. Cole, but then you showed up, and you brought my granddaughter back to life, and you made my son remember how to be happy. And today, I watched Lily walk down the aisle, and I thought about Sarah, about how she'd be so proud, about how maybe, just maybe, this was always meant to happen. She pulled out a small box. Inside was a necklace, simple, gold, with a small pendant shaped like a heart. This was Sarah's. She wore it every day. I want you to have it. I couldn't speak, could barely see through my tears. She saved you once, Mrs. Cole said quietly. And now you've saved us. Thank you, Rita. Thank you for being brave enough to run. That night, as David and I danced at our wedding, I thought about that rainy day, about a wheelchair rolling toward a drain, about making the choice to move instead of freeze. What are you thinking about? David asked. About how one moment can change everything. About how saying yes when you're scared can lead to this. Any regrets? I looked over at Lily. She was dancing with David's mom, both of them laughing, both of them alive and whole and happy. Not one. David pulled me closer. I love you, Rita Cole. I love you too. And somewhere, I like to think, Sarah was smiling. Because sometimes the people we save end up saving us right back. Sometimes the worst moment of your life leads to the best moment of someone else's. And sometimes, just sometimes, running into the rain is exactly what you were always meant to do. 2 years after that, Lily competed in her first dance competition. She didn't win, but she finished. She danced the whole routine on legs that had once been told they'd never work again. When she came off stage, she actually ran into my arms. Did you see me, Mom? Did you see? I saw everything, baby girl. And you were perfect. David wrapped his arms around both of us. Our family. Our impossible, beautiful miracle of a family. And I thought about 5-year-old me. About the little girl who survived because a woman chose to cover her body. About how that woman's choice had rippled through time and space and somehow, impossibly, brought me here. To this moment. To this life. To this love. Thank you, Sarah, I whispered, for giving me the chance to do the same. The universe has a funny way of coming full circle, of taking tragedy and turning it into triumph, of making sure that the people who save others get saved in return. I used to think I was just a waitress from a bad neighborhood who got lucky. But now I know the truth. I was always meant to be right here, right now, with this man, with this daughter, living this life. Because 15 years ago, a woman named Sarah Cole looked at a little girl and decided she was worth saving. And 15 years later, that little girl grew up and saved Sarah's family right back. That's not luck, that's love. And love, real love, never dies. It just finds new ways to show up, new hearts to fill, new lives to change. All you have to do is be brave enough to run, even when it's raining, even when you're scared. Even when every logical part of your brain says to stay frozen on that sidewalk, you run. And you trust that somewhere, somehow, it will all make sense. Because in the end, we're all just people trying to save each other. One moment of bravery at a time. Moral lessons of this story are, sometimes being brave just means doing something when everyone else is too scared to move. And that one choice can change everything. The good you put into the world doesn't disappear. It comes back in ways you never expect, sometimes years later when you need it most. Letting people help you isn't weakness. And saying yes when you're struggling doesn't make you less strong. It just makes you human. When you reach out to help someone else, you might find that they're helping you just as much, because healing works both ways. The hard things you've been through don't break you. They teach you how to understand pain in others, and that understanding can become your superpower. Dear friends, what you just saw is only one part of the bigger picture. In the next video, I'll reveal the twist no one saw coming, so make sure you're here when it drops. I would love to know what you would have done in this situation. Drop your thoughts below. I'll be reading every single comment. Thank you so much for watching. I love you so much. And don't forget to give this video a like, hit the subscribe button and share with someone who needs to hear it.